but it's fine.
Okay.
We're always starting kind of mid-sentence.
There it is. I'm sure you're gonna cover this here in our call. Just my curiosity: does this officially start the? I know this officially starts cohort. Let me be more specific. Tweets start tonight. Tweets start tomorrow. Like every single day, starting tomorrow, tonight, tomorrow. Cool.
Great question. The first day I usually wasn't like, an a-hole about it. If you want to start today, that I'd appreciate it.
All right.
Today is also an easy one, right? You can just tweet, kicked off the cohort. That's it.
Cool.
However, I do appreciate also so go back, look at the other cohort participants over the last two cohorts, and you will see quite a bit of difference, right? How people tweet, how people blog. And I think what is interesting to see, and the trend, of course, in 1 month, you don't see that much data, but you see the trend of, hopefully you guys kind of get the benefit of realizing what the tweeting and the blogging and these check-ins are about. It's hopefully not just a chore. I'm sure some days it will feel like a chore because you guys are busy, you have your jobs, you're building businesses. But the core thought, and we'll get into that again a little bit more in a minute, with the tweeting is to build habit, to build in public, right? Build audience, talk to your audience or your potential audience. Same thing with the blogging. It also helps you reflect. And these check-ins, of course, are to recap everything and just talk to each other, right? But yeah, again, we dove right into it as we usually do. So welcome again to everyone, officially kicking off cohort number 3. Super exciting. We had a bit of a mix-up this morning, not a mix-up, a hiccup. As you've seen, I don't know, some might have seen the initial tweet with the screenshot from last week's intro call where we just got to know each other. There is a new face on here today. Unfortunately, Marco, which was until this morning in the cohort still, he decided to step out. And we kicked it into high gear and got Connor on here. And I have to say thank you again, Connor. It's incredible, true entrepreneurial spirit. Like in a matter of, I think, 4 hours from our call, from my email to you, to through the call, to getting you onboarded and submitting the videos and submitting all of the material for the cohort. So very much appreciate your flexibility here.
Well, thank you. Thanks to you, Sven, and of course to the rest of the cohort for welcoming in a newcomer and a stranger last minute. So I appreciate everyone, and I look forward to it.
Cool. All right. Is there anything anyone wants to say before we get into the meat of it? All right. Cool. So I'll share a couple of slides, as I mentioned to you guys before we got live here. Just giving an overview, reminding everyone what we are about. Also, by the way, the stream is live. We are going it's broadcasting to YouTube. If you guys want to share it with your network while I'm going through the slides, always much appreciated to share, the gospel. All right.
Hey Sven, what's the best way I can grab the link, the live YouTube link?
Good question. Go to CoStarting, cohort3.costarting.org.
Okay.
Oops. And you guys see my screen, right? I don't see you. So if that was a thumbs up, I'm hoping that the silence was a yes.
Yep, that's
good. Okay. All right. So like I just mentioned, we have cohort 3. This was the old roster until a couple hours ago. Marco, you will be missed. You are now officially still in the CoStarting community. So like we talked earlier, you're in the Slack. Stay in touch. Keep up to date with what everyone is doing. Keep us up to date what you are doing, and maybe we can join the next one. But Connor entered with style, like I just mentioned. He brought himself up to speed super quickly. We just met each other yesterday, and I grabbed this off his website. I thought it was very fitting. He literally dove into the cohort.
I love it. That's awesome.
All right, so CoStarting, what is CoStarting all about? I still have my original kind of, short pitch of what I think CoStarting is. And I'm keeping this intentionally. It's already updating, and it's already not entirely up to par anymore. But my original thought with CoStarting is that I want to live in a world where we have alternative ways to start companies. And what I mean by that is that I think we can borrow from, open source projects and open collaboration principles, the build in public kind of methodology people are following, the open startup approach people are following, and really doing things transparently and enabling us to do things together, right? So I want to create a world where that is possible for companies. Can we start companies entirely collaboratively? Meaning anyone can just come in and deliver value to that company in whatever they are good at, right? And there's a ton of questions still. I'm getting really deep into the DAO space and the NFT space in crypto, where I think that is a lot of stuff which can help with this, but it's like Web3, it's all new. It's not very user-friendly yet, right? So a lot of questions here. If anyone is interested in talking about this, we have every Tuesday at noon Eastern time, we have virtual coffee hours. It's on the website, CoStarting.org. Join us there. I'd love to talk about this stuff. I don't have all the answers, but I'm on a mission to make it possible. And for the beginning of what CoStarting is that the openness part, right? The openness and the community. And that's what we're doing with the cohorts. We're coming together, we are building our project in public, and we're collaborating to an extent that we are helping each other being held accountable, right? So we're not necessarily working on the same projects, but it's going into the direction of it, and it's a big part of it. So I just had to start on one end because I didn't have the answers for all of the open questions in my head, and I got overloaded with it. And since I have a tendency to over-engineer things, this time I wanted to do it differently, and I just launched it in the true spirit of the launch track cohort, which is the first thing I launched for CoStarting. It's just important to launch it, right? And this is what we're all here for. You guys are all on different stages of your business, but the point is to just get it out there. If that's the first version, if that's the first chapter of your book, if that's the beta version, if that's just a landing page for your project, it doesn't matter. Just get it out there. Start talking to the people who you think might be your customers or your audience, and iterate from there, right? So we're doing this, 5 people, 5 projects, 1 month. We're committing to certain things like building in public, live streaming it like we're already doing, tweeting about it every day, blogging about it every week. You can follow along with all of the projects on YouTube, on Twitter, on their blogs, and on our website. If you want to go directly to this cohort, it's always cohort 3.costarting.org in this case, and you will see all the projects. So the cohort timeline, we kick off today. We are having 3 check-ins over the next couple of weeks where we report on the progress, and we'll see the format of how we do this today already. We changed it up a little bit from last cohorts where we were mostly slide-based. We are now using video check-ins, pre-recorded 24 hours in advance to be submitted to me. And we are watching them together so you guys can kind of see the reactions of your peers to your status updates and learn from that. That was actually, so thanks, Marco. That was one of your recommendations that we do that together. We'll follow your advice, even though you're not with us anymore. And then we have a recap in the last week where we go over your commitments and how far did you get? Did you make all the cohort requirements? Did you make your own requirements? What is the project going to be after the cohort? Because hopefully this is just the beginning or just one chapter in your project, right? We're, like I said, we're tweeting every day, we're blogging about it. And you can, of course, YouTube about it. You can share it on Indie Hackers. You can, whatever channels work for you and for your customers, you can do that. Don't feel like you have to be only restricted to what I'm suggesting. 2 more suggestions. How can you blog? How can you tweet? Some of you are already doing that fairly successfully. Some of you are already building in public, so you know this. But on the left, this is kind of a format I used to follow. Actually learned that at Techstars with the previous company. And it's just kind of keeping a tally. I kept a tally over the week in a document where I just wrote down anything which stood out, good, bad, or otherwise. Successes, challenges, asks, what did I need for my business? Where's the project at? in a bullet point form, right? And then at the end of the week, I sat down a couple hours and I wrote a nice newsletter about it and posted it on my blog. If you don't have your blog set up yet, actually, I think you all do actually, but I used Ghost for that. Ghost is a nice platform, just as a side note, because it lets you blog and send newsletters all in one swoop. Tweeting, totally up to you. You don't have to follow any format, but if you want to have a suggestion is, what did you accomplish today? What are you intending to do tomorrow? Did you learn anything today, right? Those are 3 suggestions you can follow. And you see here, if you're familiar with the like software development, right? This is kind of like the tweeting is kind of like your daily stand-up, helps you think about what have you done, what are you going to do. And the blogging weekly, as well as our check-ins, are your weekly retrospectives, really reflecting back on the week and reminding yourselves what have you done, and was that really good use of time, right? Sometimes those questions are really important to ask yourself. So let's get into it. Let me stop sharing this. And as mentioned, we are going to have video updates from all of you where you introduce yourself and your project. Before that, though, are there any questions to the structure, to the format of the cohort, any suggestions, any concerns?
Not a concern, but a suggestion. Could you be making sure that we know what the link is for the live stream for these things so that we can be helping promote them? Maybe as part of our, it seems like a free daily tweet, right? The day before they say, hey, we're going to be doing our cohort thing tomorrow for whatever, both of my fans,
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, you're recognizing Ray is already optimizing the daily tweets. I heard this before from the previous cohort. Timo used to say, I get about 3 free tweets, he called them, out of it, which is the weekly check-in, it's the coffee meeting, and I don't know what the third one was. Absolutely, could totally do that. The links are always going to be on the cohort website. When you land on the cohort website, the first thing you see is the YouTube video. I'm always updating that at least a day in advance for the new stream link. If it's for whatever reason not there, step on my toes, ask me directly in Slack, and I'll provide it to you. Anything else? No? All right. So we'll start off with Martin's introduction of Flotellic.
Hello, Cohort. So I'm working on Flotellic. It's a note-taking app to solve essentially a need that I have discovered where I do lots of reading and I want to be able to make better notes. I discovered the Zettel method at the end of last year, and I realized that there's no app that sort of does the workflow around that I'm looking for, so I decided to build it. Now I'm approaching this in a slightly different way. I'm not just going to have a list of features to tackle. I actually want to solve it in terms of problems. And I've launched something just after Christmas, and it answers the question, can I use it to create notes? Can I use it as my second brain, part of the Zettelcast thing? I say yes, I can. Not amazing, but you can do it, because I still want to prove that this product is transformative. So what I'm focusing on in the cohort is, does it help me build a habit around note-taking? What's really important is that I do this thing consistently. So I'm sort of thinking of the product as this overarching, it's a note-taking app that helps you study, learn, think, write, publish with maximum efficiency and consistency. So that's the mission. And yeah, so in the last week, I launched a feature called Study Notes. So here's the app. Very briefly, you've got collections, notes, and then different types of notes. And you can link them together in the Cole's second brain type of thinking. So this feature here is basically
Did anybody else lose the audio?
Yes.
go through that article and write by.
I think that was my bad because I unmuted myself and it automatically muted your video. Sorry about that. I go 30 seconds back.
I'll annotate it.
Get that in here. And then basically the idea is I can go through that article and write my study, my thoughts, all of that. And then what's coming up in the next week is a bit of workflow around that, so I can track where I am with my study notes and make sure I go through the cycle of capturing my ideas from those notes. And then the second phase is organizing that into what we call like the slip box or the second brain, so that you have your permanent store of notes. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. The other goal that I've got for the next week is to produce a YouTube video, as that's my kind of main focus on building traction in my mailing list. Essentially, as the product gets more ready, I have a list ready to go to get some early traction and feedback. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Okay, sorry about that again. I did not realize that when I click on my microphone icon, it mutes the video automatically. I probably made this mistake before, actually. So the format we're following, we're going to go one intro, and then we talk about it, right? So since today is the first one, not every video is exactly on point with the 120 second limit. I didn't tell Connor that, for example, so his is a little bit longer, but that's fine. We're gonna.
I might have the 20-minute one. That's what we're referring to.
Right. Yeah. So I gave him an exception for this one, but yeah, let's talk about it. Martin, anything else you want to say to your pitch there, or you want to just open it directly up for questions?
I'll try and keep it more concise next time. I forgot what I put in it, to be truthful, because I did this on Monday. And my head's been in the next week, so yeah, I kind of had to remind myself what it was. It's hard to say, because I've been doing the building in public for the last couple of months. So I'm sort of on this train of trying to just deliver things consistently and push out as much content that's reasonable on YouTube to try and get that traction. I'm quite happy with that progress, but obviously any feedback, which is really a good opportunity for me to get that feedback from yourselves, to basically see my blind spots, give me ideas. The cohort, building the product and knowing what that is, I'm pretty sure what I want to do. I'm quite comfortable with that. What is probably the harder part is how to. I don't want to use the word marketing, so I'm not marketing the product yet, because I've got to make sure it's a transformative product first. The bit is, how can I maximize this time to find my audience, to find my people that the product is going to serve, and really get the best return on that efforts. So I've been putting a few changes in, but the YouTube seems to be working quite well. My subscribers are going up, which is kind of nice. And my mailing list is growing. I've got about 60 people on the wait list, which is kind of awesome, because I don't quite know how I did that. And Twitter as well. So they're the three areas that I'm focusing on. So yeah, I don't know what to ask for at the moment, but yeah.
Martin,
Well,
do you know who the 60 people are?
Sorry?
I was just asking Martin whether he.
I would just have some concrete questions about the product. One is, which platforms can you use it? Is it just web-based? And the other one is, did I see that correctly, that you had the separate notes right next to each other? Because it looked like it would be very useful, for example, to make an article or so, where I see my notes and
I've lost a bit of audio here. Is that just me, or is it? Okay. I will answer the first part of the question, and we'll revisit the second part. So what you saw in the demo was it's a study note. So if you have a backlog of articles that you want to read, which I normally do, you put the web link in and you just get a preview. It does a readability view of that, and you can scroll them independently, make your notes. What I'm working on at the moment is the workflow around that. So you go through a phase of having draft notes. So I spend 10 minutes, I read an article, make my brief notes. Then there's another part to the workflow where you take those notes and you actually organize those into your, to be specific, the slip box, which is the Zettel method, if you're into that kind of note taking. The app won't be specific to that workflow. It's going to be more flexible, but that's what I'm working with as a template. When you say about having notes side by side, it doesn't do that at the moment, but one area when the time is right to build it in the workflow is when you're organizing things, to be able to lay them out on a grid, and I want to call that the workspace, so that the notes are supposed to be like index cards. And I like the idea of like a virtual way of putting them out on your desk, so you can see the same notes but through different questions. So if I've got research on one thing and I want to answer a certain question, I can organize it in that framing. So that's going to be fun to build and play with. But there's a few things that need to be in place before I get to that cool thing. Was there a second part to your question? Your audio cut out.
The other part was just which platforms does it work on? Is it web-based?
So at the moment, it's purely web-based. That you can't even register an account. You can go to it, and it'll just put it in your local storage on your browser. If you do want to back up your notes, you can. There's collections. You can have multiple collections. You can right-click, download a zip file of the markdown files, so you can. The notes are yours, and you can drag them in. So if you did move to a different device, at some point you'll be able to synchronize across device, and there'll probably be a desktop app and maybe a tablet version, mobile version, like all that in the roadmap. There's no point me doing that now because I've got to prove that it's a product that is different and worthy of going down that road. And just to add to that, part of the business model will be once you start syncing across devices, that'll be a subscription service. So it seems to be a standard model with note-taking apps where you pay to subscribe to put it across devices. Anything from anyone else?
I had a quick question, if I might. Who economically, who's the customer, and why are they parting with their hard-earned money for it?
Good question. So very selfishly, the customer is me, but I would represent a certain type of individual, which is my easiest go-to. So if you were to look at, say, what is the Zettel caster method? These are individuals who like to do research and like to write. So maybe they're building a business around content writing. There could be bloggers. There could just be people going through the whole personal transformation, personal productivity, and they listen to books, they read books, but they're not capturing the essence of it that they can deploy very easily. I've been through this transformation. I know what that's like. So this is a way to create a personal knowledge management system, but not one where you have to do all the work to remember to do it, to organize it and find your own system of doing it. The app should basically allow me to take off, to go on autopilot a bit, and it'll tell me, today, I just got to read these articles. I've got to organize these notes. And then when I produce more content, so I want to get into more blogging and YouTube as well. I want my content to be of higher quality, better researched. And the goal is that you've got all your research. It's there. It's at your fingertips. You're just organizing your thoughts. This is the whole Zettelkasten benefit. You're organizing that. And the act of producing is a lot less intimidating. I think that's the goal. There are other niches that can come out of this that'd be quite interesting. I'm using the same system for a technical playbook because I work in tech to organize how production systems work, and if something's on fire, what do you do? Like, who goes to it? I could see that being an interesting, because I've started using it to document that, and it's working really well. So I'm sort of surprising myself with the benefits of this, which it's very unusual and quite exciting. But I'm not going to run away with those ideas yet. I'm going to stick to my mission and solve my problem first, and then see if it scales.
Two more so comments, not really questions, actually, Martin. My first one is when I first saw it up on the screen very quickly, what I liked about it was very recognizable as far as it having some similarities to the Gmail layout, as well as I think that tool Front, the new Front platform, has a very similar layout. I've
not heard of that one.
Check them out. Very, very similar interface, and I mean that in a very good way. Very recognizable, very, very clean looking, sharp looking.
Thank you.
Then the other thing I wanted to mention, as you were just kind of talking, answering Ray's question, have you heard of the company or platform ResearchGate?
No.
It is. Go ahead and write that down. So it's a platform. From my understanding, I think a lot of the publishers are, individuals who have their master's or PhD, and it's a lot of like researchers, scientists posting their own articles, and it's a lot of interaction and support with one another. And I'm sure, from what I understood, at least coming from one of our advisors who has his PhD, uses it for a lot of his own research. Therefore, I'm sure it takes a lot of notes relevant to it. So I just maybe thought as a channel, maybe check that out, and there might be a nice, set of users that could come through that.
This is really good because I'm not an academic. I'm not someone who's into heavy research. I'm a techie entrepreneur. So I know I'm stepping into an area that I feel like a bit of a novice with. Like, I listen to audiobooks quite extensively, then started reading, and I'm taking notes using certain apps, discovering things, but in a vacuum. Whereas this whole discipline of research and all of that, I'm not going to be intimidated by it. I'm actually going to be quite excited to listen and see what I have to offer, and just go steady and in responding to where this may land and where it may benefit others. So I think this is where I was saying about I want to find the people who this resonates with. That's my biggest goal at the moment. And the whole building in public, that's the whole point, that you're finding your community, your voice, your brand through that journey. And hopefully when you do launch, you end up with a dedicated set of followers who can essentially be your help you through that kind of movement when you're ready to start putting the pressure on to get it into the mass market, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like, I've had ideas of this. One of my activities is to list the YouTubers who I feel my product would be a complementary kind of. They're talking about productivity, they're talking about note taking. You got your big YouTubers, like that's the dream, to be showcased on there. But actually, I need to be thinking in micro steps, find enough of those where this is of value to them. So it's got to be a win-win. But when you have enough people to help amplify that voice and get on their radar, I think that'd be quite an exciting experiment to see what that does.
Awesome. This is great. I love the energy already. Unfortunately, I do have to move it along a little bit. So we're going to go over to Catherine.
Hi, CoStarting team. I'm Catherine from Harmony Content Base. So we all know that tech teams are generally always overloaded, whether it's from navigating silos or from dealing with a lack of resources in time, money, and skill. So Harmony has been built to, first of all, save a lot of time, and especially to enable non-technical people to visually build applications. Kind of like Figma, but functional. And as a builder, I have several pages here that I can adapt individually. Obviously, as a user, I would just see an application. And I can extend these pages and work on them simply by dragging and dropping elements into a UI tree. We also have role-based access control to obviously control who accesses your application. And right now we're getting ready for a private beta where we're focusing on customer portals, so that people can build or extend their customer portals and bring the interactions with their clients onto a digital plane. And the goal of our private beta is mainly to find out whether the builder is easy enough to use now for technical people and where they struggle with using it. So we have a few people lined up who we want to experiment with and who we want to build stuff with, and to see whether they are ready, and if not, then where do we need to prioritize our time and effort to make the application as easy to use as possible.
Fantastic. Any notes briefly, and then we open it for questions or feedback.
I think I'm just looking forward to the questions now. I always love that the moment I put a camera on myself, I have a cat somewhere around or a cat tail going through the video. It's unavoidable. It's so interesting for cats.
The internet loves cats, so this will be a hit.
Hey, Catherine, great job. Looks great. So just my curiosity, is it really meant for an individual a person, or is it meant for smaller teams, or is it really meant for? I wouldn't, from what I understood, I wouldn't see it being for larger teams because that's the whole point, consolidation. So would it be for smaller teams, individual developers then?
Right now, we got a lot of interest from basically all kinds of realms when we were reaching out to companies over the last few months. And right now with the beta, we want to focus on consultants that do something like business consulting, because we really want to know, is this usable for people who are not programmers? Because I think there are a lot of solutions for programmers out there, and we do know that it would save them time too, but the whole purpose is to make it accessible, to make software or generally application development more accessible to people. So right now with this beta, we really want to see, okay, can we already do that, or how far, where do we have to focus our time and priorities to make sure that people can actually use it without learning SQL, without learning, you know, I don't know, at least JavaScript or something, you know, just by visually building. I think long term it can definitely go for businesses as well, and you know, bigger ones.
I've got a question. I also looked at the website just to get more context, because obviously a short video is quite hard to really distill everything down. I think one of the things that I was left asking, or not necessarily asking, I understand the concept and what you're saying. I think I lacked the example. So I was sort of guessing what type of business, what type of content, what is it for internal communication? Is it for end customer communication? So could a consultant be building a support portal for a manufacturer who's dealing with requests from end users, those kind of things? I didn't really understand that. I'd love for you to elaborate if you've got an example, just so I can get a better context.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our pilot projects, for example, is a nonprofit where it's really about having a portal between the people who work at the nonprofit and the people they support as part of their nonprofit. And they used to meet in person, and now they have to have all the communication digitally, obviously, and they use all kinds of, you know, call platforms and whatever. But for the whole document sharing, just being able to find the documents that are required for doing their job and that they need to send back and forth, they can use Harmony, and they can also use it to some degree to do form building, to say that some of the forms that they help people with creating can be done more automatically, that it's automatically pretty, you know, automatically formatted correctly. And we're now thinking as well of integrating some communication solutions into it. But I think right now for the private beta, it's really about the building, really about the customizing. We're also doing templates, because I know that this is totally a problem. When people come to it and it's like blank canvas, it's like, what am I going to build with that? You know, no idea. Or how do I get started? So we're doing a few templates right now as well. And as part of this week, we're actually also testing through the templates that we've built to see where we struggle, where we feel like we need to improve the template before we release it in basically 2 weeks.
Great, wonderful. I know one use case where, as a customer, I wish this kind of solution existed, is moving house and dealing with, at least in the UK, solicitors, and they bombard you with emails. I moved it all into Trello. I had 100 documents sitting in that Trello by the end of it. And I'm like, there needs to be something with a trackable progress. And I could see there's probably not an off-the-shelf package, but this is the right sort of balance. Create something that simplifies and streamlines, but doesn't require £50,000 of investment to build a solution. Yeah, cool.
I love it that you say that, because I got this use case you just mentioned as well from other people. Yeah,
Great,
our challenge is always focusing on one thing.
just to add with the templates, I think that is a fantastic opportunity, because there's a book. I can't remember the title of it. I'll send you a link, but if you start finding some demographics that you want to sort of tap into, you can actually position yourselves as a solution in that niche with very little customization because you're just building templates. And it's almost like it's an endless amount of opportunity for very little extra. And then you find the ones that pop and kind of dive into that. I think that's a really exciting way of approaching it, rather than picking one narrow and trying to go for it.
Yes, please send me that link. That would be great.
Will do.
Awesome. Cool. One last comment from me too. I totally echo the template part. Like, for example, also no code, but website builder, Card, fantastic tool. Great, a lot to learn from them. I think they have a bunch of templates in there. They're free to use. Every single person I know started with just taking a template which looked like something they like, and then they built it in there, and then they rebuilt it completely because then they knew the tool, right? Makes so much sense. Sweet. All right, we will go with Ray next. Phone to email.
Hi, CoStarting crew. My name is Ray. I'm the founder of Phone to Email, which is a phone designed for people trying to do more and better deep work. Instead of people calling and then you getting a ding on your phone, interrupting, you need to talk to them right away, or even getting texts and having those ding, it provides you with a phone number. And anyone who calls that phone number, if they are leaving, if they're talking by a voice, they leave a voicemail that is then transcribed to text for you. And if they leave a text, that's fine. Both of those are held until the end of the day, the end of the week, at a time you're choosing, so that you are not being interrupted when you're trying to do your deep work. And that way, you're not being put on the spot, and you're able to answer when it's going to be useful for you. You can control all of this through our web interface, although the main experience, as you might imagine, is going to be a phone number for your customers, counterparties, and it's going to be an email, mostly, for yourself. But the control you have is you can decide what you want your message to be, down to the words, exactly how it's going to be expressed, and what kind of voice you want to have done that for you. We use robocallers that way. It can be safer. You have the control over when the email will go out and who it's going to be sent to, as well as some more advanced options that might be useful for certain more specific use cases. Where I am right now is customer discovery. I am looking to talk with other people who are looking to do more and better deep work, who are trying to not have the tyranny of the inbox of notifications, and get them to talk with me for 15 minutes so I can learn more about what they do and how it is I can be serving their needs better on the side of notifications and telephony. I have a theory of what phone to email can and should be doing on an MVP point of view, but really I'm looking to validate that with customers, and is reaching out to potential customers that is going to be my focus in the course of the cohort.
Awesome. Who wants to go first?
Hey, Ray, excuse me if this is a silly question coming from a non-technical founder, but is your plans to use NLP to carry out the transcriptions?
Yeah, I went shopping through various, actually not NLP, but audio synthesis, right? Turning speech into text. So yeah, audio processing to create the text. And I went shopping through, and I'm using the service seems to provide the best result for the price point, to be able to get that done on an automatic basis. So yes, they leave a voicemail. They can always listen to the recording, but the text makes it more consumable as an email.
Very nice.
I'm wondering if you've thought about or done research on sort of the types of notifications that are causing people to not do deep work. I'm thinking, myself, I don't get really any calls. I do get texts, which distract me, but I think most of my notifications are elsewhere. So I don't know if that's something you decided to focus on, the text and call, or if you're also looking at other notifications that distract people.
Yeah, of course, like social media notifications, kind of the classic example that Cal Newport uses in digital minimalism, and that's definitely a problem area. It seems like it's the one that might be a little bit harder to solve. So actually, I'm hoping to get some of that from these conversations as well. I thought the start where like, it's going to be junk. I don't know about you, but like I get relatively few calls now because that's not how people communicate with me. So if the phone's ringing, it's probably chunky, but that doesn't keep it from being noisy and interruptive, right?
Right.
So this allows me to hand out a number that, and that's what I've been doing myself for the last couple of months, is hand out this number so that they can reach me that way, but they're not going to interrupt me this way. And so trying to solve, like you say, maybe not all of the problem, but at least the first part of the problem that seems to have a clear path to solution.
And I'd almost even say, going off Elliot's point, I think the precursor to that is really understanding who is going to be the target customer, because each target customer is probably going to have different types of notifications coming in at different times. Maybe for example, in e-commerce, might have a lot of DMs coming through like Instagram or stuff like that, as opposed to maybe a service provider might be getting a lot of phone calls. So just thinking out loud here.
Oh yeah, that is absolutely one reason to go talk to customers, right?
Exactly right.
My initial hypothesis is going to be people who look more like me, perhaps more like some of the rest of us. People who our primary means of communication are not going to be live interrupting calls. Like, we might take meetings, we do video conferences, we do emails, but really there's very little reason to be interrupted as we go with these things. But that's a theory, right? Or it's a hypothesis. As a hypothesis, I'm looking to validate or disprove through getting these conversations going. So your point's very well taken.
Yeah, I'm worried a little bit about finding your potential users, because they're already trying to block out so many things that I'm worried they will be hard to find.
But
That's exactly
the ones
right.
you do find will really want the service.
Right. No, that's a really good point too. Right. So this is going to allow me to do two things at once. This will first allow me to validate a theory of value, right? Of like, is this solving the right kind of problem for the right kind of audience? I know that solved a problem for myself, for a couple people, but like, is there more? And the second thing I need to do, and this gets to your point, is a theory of growth. How do you find the people for whom this is a problem, who are desperately trying to avoid notifications, and therefore, like, just being yet another notification, yet another interrupt is not going to be a great way to win over their trust, right? So I think that becomes one of the challenges of this kind of business. And yet, kind of like, with, second brain note taking, I think this theory of like how to be figuring out how to be productive, right, in an increasingly interrupted world is it's a big future of work question. So it might be a small business, but I think it's a big sector that's, some hard questions, but worth answering, or at least trying to get my arms around.
I don't think you'll struggle finding that audience. What I love is that your audience may not be the one you end up with as you do your testing. Yeah. But you have a person in mind, and that's really good. And you'll find them in their other channels. That's not the problem. I've found so many productivity apps through YouTube and other channels that there's a channel in. It won't be a notification. It won't be a cold call. I did get a little bit confused looking at your website though, because it mentions about teams, but we're talking about the individual. I didn't understand the relationship between why there's teams involved when you're targeting an individual doing deep work. So that made me realize that I probably don't understand your perspective of like how you came about this and reflecting on like where I'm coming from. I do have another question. Is voicemail your biggest competitor and do not disturb mode?
Yeah, sure. People just leaving their phones on do not disturb is a potential solution for a lot of folks. Of course, that's also usually a phone number you give to your parents or people who really do need to reach you, and that becomes the hard part, right? So and just having that phone go straight to voicemail is, of course, a pretty straightforward alternative. It's certainly a thing I do all the time. I'm still getting hit with these interrupts, right, over the course of the day. So the idea is, and then I don't even get the interrupt for it, even though I don't have to push the button to break out of my flow in order to go push the button. It just sort of goes to later. But yeah, that's probably the main competitor, or someone just picking up a Google Voice number for this kind of purpose. The price point is much lower than the Google Voice number. That's sort of because we don't have to do any outbound calls. It kind of really reduces our variable costs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as with so many, relatively innovative solutions, do nothing or do what I was doing yesterday is going to be our primary competitor.
Yeah. Thinking of think of what you've got. I also looked at where you may have opportunities that you may not have considered. You may have considered them, which probably is not the demographic that you've said. I think there could be an opportunity for small businesses so you've got tradesmen who are on the job, but they take phone calls, and the last thing they probably are very good at is getting around to their voicemail and getting back. If they could give out something, they got the distilled end of the day. These are the people who want to make contact. I think that'd be really good. Restaurants, trying to phone, book a table. Everybody's busy. Restaurants in the UK are closed at the moment, so it's probably not a good scenario. But things like that, where you've got this telephone is a synchronous method of communication. The person phoning wants to interrupt you, and they get frustrated when they cannot contact you. Leaving voicemails is annoying, but is necessary if you can't contact. And then on the other side, listening to voicemails is very tedious. What was that number? Rewind. If you've got like an iPhone or something, you might have visual voicemails. So you can get the audio clip. I don't. It's 2021. I just get really crappy voicemail. Having an email of that would be kind of cool, right? So from that perspective, I could see an opportunity, but not what you're targeting, and I don't know where that fits in your proposition. Just a couple of other thoughts very quickly. I was unsure how I would use it because I always give my mobile number out, and I thought, could I forward my calls when I'm in a deep work to this thing and it pick it up? Maybe that's an opportunity. I don't know. Otherwise, I'm tracking different numbers going out. In the UK, we do have a thing called telephone preference service where you can put your number in to reduce spam, cold calling. Questionable whether it works or not. There's one robot that phones me every so often that sounds like a human. And just another one, check out Muzzle. It's an app on the desktop that silences embarrassing notifications. They have the best homepage. And I thought you could rip that off. You could have the home. Basically, you get all these embarrassing notifications on the homepage. It's hilarious. I thought you could rip that off, where as someone's reading your homepage, it gets really annoying calls coming in, and you just want to silence it, and that's your sign-up page or something like that.
I love that idea of getting some sort of interactive element to the before versus after. That's great.
So it's fantastic feedback here already. I love this, guys. I am mostly silent, which that's what it's all about. I know I'm supposed to be the MC and all of that, but the less I talk, the better. We do have to move on, though, because we will already run over a little bit today. Hopefully, you'll be all okay with that. But I think this first one, you guys all get to know each other's businesses at this point, so a little bit more time is okay. However, we will move on to Elliot.
All right, CoStarting team. So mine's a little different than maybe everybody else's because you're going to help me choose what to work on. So here I have 3 ideas. They're called Push Me Up, Audio Therapy, and Dine on a Farm. My criteria for choosing what to work on is no code. I'm not a programmer. And also something that I can, manage or make progress with less than 8 hours of work every single week. Just to hop here real quick, show you what I'm doing now, because I think it's important that what I'm working on is something I'm interested in. So I do PR with cryptocurrency companies, media relations, content creation, that kind of thing. With Share Meals, I work with partners to use software that's kind of on hold while the founder works on the next version. I manage a farmer's market twice a month, roughly, and work with farmers just to, get sell their stuff to New York City residents. And I am a massage therapist as well. So let's go over here. So the first one, Push Me Up. It would be an app that connects to, you'd open it, press a button, you are randomly connected to another person, and you are both instructed to do a certain number of push-ups, and then the countdown stops, and you are asked to answer a question about how the other person did with their push-ups. Possible revenue models I have ideas from, but that's the general idea of the app. The next one is a crowdsourced audio therapy tool where you can submit a problem or a concern you're having, and then anybody can see that, and the response also has to be audio responses. So it could look like Reddit, but they're all audio. So the first post is audio, and then all the replies are audio, and people would be able to hopefully vote on them so that the person with the problem could see the top response that people agree with. And then the last one, pretty straightforward, not remote or tech first, so maybe not a great fit for this group, but I still wanted to add it because I've been thinking about it for a little while. But yeah, simple trip for New York City residents to visit some farms, and then they are served a meal on the farm. And this maybe works for me because I do already know partners and potential customers for this kind of project. And it could be easy to do one and test that out, but who knows? Any help, ideas would be greatly appreciated.
So again, I have to say this is kind of super cool, in my opinion, that you decided to start with help me decide, right? Because this is part of the launching. Sometimes there's so many things we could be doing. And we have 5 bright minds in the call every week now, which can help you narrow down which one has the most potential in their opinions, right? So you're already having kind of a bit of a target audience. So I'm curious to see what everyone thinks about those 3 ideas so far.
Yeah, and I'm excited too, and a little nervous. But I'll mention, I'm not a programmer, but part of the reason I wanted to jump in this, I threw that non-programming thing on there because that's interesting to me. But I've been reading about no-code tools and seeing the build in public, and they, we're all here, and they some of those go together because it's making it easier. So I haven't dove in yet. Part of the reason I did this is because I think now it's time to dive in. That being said, I'd love, if anybody has questions or thoughts from that video, help me decide.
Elliot, I'll go ahead and I'll jump in, share my 2 cents real quick. To go comb through all 3 ideas, I think to push me up, I think it's a good idea, certainly. So I just feel like there's so many other productivity apps, and even something like FaceTime, where you can just hop on FaceTime real quick with your buddy and hold them accountable for something like that. With the and I'm gonna keep these very, very quick and short. With the mental health one, the biggest thing that jumps to my mind is how likely are individuals who may be wanting to use this, with whether it be suffering or have some sort of, I don't want to say mental health disorder, but are attracted to this type of platform to share. I wonder if them sharing via audio, if their comfortability of sharing their voice, if that would pose some sort of challenges to a set of users. So that leaves me then with the Dine-On Farm. I think that's your hit. I think not only did you kind of wrapped it up saying you already have some connections in there to kind of get it going already, and some partnerships you already mentioned, and who you think you can get some revenue driven from. But the other thing that jumps out to me is where you want to target it. I think with us, especially, and I say us, South Florida, we're already pretty opened up, but with the New York area, slowly but surely getting more and more open. And I think you're going to have a lot of local New Yorkers who absolutely, of course, love the fact they live in a metropolitan area, but are now wanting to expose themselves maybe to a bit more of suburban areas, urban areas, without completely leaving the New York area, right? We're seeing a mass exodus of people actually moving out of the New York area, but I feel like there's still going to be a lot of people who still want to get tastes of that, but still live in the heart of New York. And I think that's a really cool, just really neat with different approach. I haven't really come across a platform that would help connect me with some cool farms and do a nice dinner on those. And what I'm even now thinking is, very recently I've been browsing Airbnb for like unique stays, that like the different cool, like unique stuff. And that factor of uniqueness, I think, could draw a lot of attention. And you mentioned that, maybe this isn't something tech related. I completely disagree. I think having a platform, a mobile app, would be the foundation. of making sure that you logistically can coordinate all of this within that platform.
Tech enabled, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would also add. I would also say that with the. Oh wait, did it break up? Can you hear me? Okay, great.
Yep.
Well, with the last one, it sounds like it's actually a really concrete offer, really concise, really clear. So I think it would be a great one to test and to see, to make landing pages, to make experiments, to see if people sign up and if they're willing to buy. Because it sounds super straightforward, and I can definitely imagine that there is a demand for it.
Yeah, I'd say just as an economic thing, you're at the intersect right now with the farmers market of supply and demand, right? People who come to the market as well as people who are supplying at the market. I kind of think you might have it backwards with the nature of it being the going out to the farm. And the reason I say that is because we're about to hit reaping season. We're supposed to hit planting season. They're trying to offload their early season supply. I kind of wonder whether early on, like more spring and summer, you might, with COVID still being on the decline, you might think about being at that intersect but moving in the opposite direction, right? Using the same assets, being near the customers, being near the farmers, and having access to the transportation resources, which are necessary because if you're living in downtown New York, the chances of you having a car are relatively small. Using those same resources to move things from the farm to people's homes, right? Being able to do home delivery, but then being able to take those same resources, right? The fact that you're at the intersect of, the farmers, you have access to the customers, and you're using the same transportation resources to, instead of shipping cargo to people's homes, ship people out to the farms later in the summer or in the fall, basically when there's less fear of what does it mean to go out and be around strangers, right? So, but what they have in common is being at this nexus of those three things. And I suspect the thing that was going to be what I imagine being a lift that you don't currently have, because it's not part of the farmer market model, is going to be transportation. Figure out the transportation, and you can be creating multiple product offerings that make use of that nexus, and that can all be driving value to the farmers, value to the consumers, and value capture to you.
Awesome. Yep.
I think I just add to that. Be very clear whether you're selling food or whether you're selling an experience, because the experience means you've got the whole convenience factor, like the transportation for those that don't normally have the transportation, things like that. And it could be quite a unique experience. I could see it doing quite well in the gift market as well for that, where people buy dining experiences for other people. So it could be quite unique.
I mean, experiences are kind of the big thing, at least in my circles. That's important.
And Ellie, and going off of what Martin said, you can kind of get the best of both worlds. The experience is the service is one of the values, but another value prop to whatever customer it be is increase your sales in whatever whatever it be, whether it be make more money for your dinners or sell local produce when they're on site. I think that's a value prop to offer to your customers while your product, your service is the experience.
And you have to ask yourself too, you don't have to provide the experience, right? Maybe this is like totally way down the line. First of all, you need to decide if that's the product the idea you're gonna pursue, but it seems to be pretty consensus from this cohort, at least so far. But you could just be the offering, right? Like Airbnb, you said it, Connor. They're not actually implementing every step. You are just a facilitator. You don't have to necessarily be the one who shuttles the people. But I mean, I think if you can figure that out with your connections, that you're onto something. I agree. Although I do have to say, as a side comment, the mental health idea, very, very interesting idea, because it's a big problem, but also much more complex, certainly, right?
Yeah, I mean, those other two that they're especially for me complex with the tech side. And you're right, the farm thing can be tech and hopefully tech enabled. But yeah, you guys all seem to pick up that was like at least where I'm more comfortable with. and giving me that validation of like, yeah, so like go, just go validate that instead of jumping into something that's totally new when, I also happen to start another, contract, job today. So like, how much more do I want on my plate?
I think the farm idea is gonna be plenty of work if it works. Like that's not gonna be the problem, I think. And you can start it without tech, right? You can start it with whatever you are familiar with, and then if it works, we'll tackify it.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So Connor's video is a little bit longer, so I do really, really hope that the live stream is not gonna cut us off. But if it is, we will stick around and still give you feedback, Connor. The world is just not going to see that first little bit of feedback.
Yeah, and for everyone's sake, if you want to keep, cut it at like 2 minutes, that's totally cool.
You tell me whenever you think it, like the meat of it is over. That because I don't know, I haven't watched it yet. You need to tell me.
Okay. Hi everyone, hello, CoStarting cohort number 3. Super excited to join you all last minute. My name is Connor Fermender. I'm the CEO and founder of Endeavor. So we've built a socially interactive marketplace that matches emerging professionals to the best suited online education in technology. You can almost consider us unbundling LinkedIn, focusing on emerging or young professionals as a target audience and focusing on tech as a vertical. And I say tech as a vertical, not as an industry, and because by focusing on tech as a vertical, that allows us to tap into the variety of online education and even job opportunities related to AI, even down to blockchain, and of course, focusing on growth prominent tech industries like health tech and fintech. So just taking a quick look at our platform here, we're logged in as a professional user right now. We're working on the dashboard, so the mockups are started, but haven't completed those yet. But right here, as a professional user, I'm able to view a variety of different e-learning opportunities that are being posted by the organizational users. So it is a two-sided marketplace, and as long as we have time here, I'll make sure I kind of show you the interface for the organization. But right now, I want to show you the professional user. So as a professional user, I'm browsing the main dashboard or the main opportunity dashboard, viewing the different listings. I can filter by the different types of listings, and as we start getting more listings on here, the types of opportunities will start to expand. But right now, the ones listed are just certification, full-time job, and job shadow. We'll look at this one as an example. So the professional user can view the detail of it. They can actually, even scroll through other opportunities without having to, go completely back to the dashboard. And you'll even see too, we built a matching algorithm that leverages the location of each user, the industry that the organization is in, as well as the industry interests the professional user has, and then soft skills. So you'll see right here, the organization can add get that out of here. The organization can add soft skills on a per listing basis, which will directly match with the skills that the professional user is adding to their profile. And so you can already see here, actually, for our test user right now, they've already applied to it. And so it kind of tracks it in real time where they can view it over here as well, view the real-time submission status of the different opportunities that they've already applied to or enrolled in. Of course, they can edit their profile here. We are starting to work on some analytics. Right now, it's just for the user to manage their activity. What I mean by that is a professional user can upload their hours, whether it's hours worked in the job or more importantly, hours completed in the different courses or certifications that they're taking. We built a proprietary direct messaging feature. Super excited for this to start being used and, of course, be the foundation for the social interaction factor of our platform. And I have 2 minutes here, so let me log out real quick, and I'm going to log myself in as an employer user.
You wanted to cut it off there? Was that what you're saying?
I wouldn't be cognizant everyone's time. That was, I think, really, the priority to show the professional user's interface.
All right.
Well, I think it's a good thing you're part of this group. I mean, I know Sven and I talked about, education and alternative MBAs and all these offerings that are emerging and people leveling up. So I'm glad to see you in this group. And I think that service sounds like, I think you're building this at the right time.
Awesome. Thank you, Elliot. Thank you.
Do you mind if I ask? That was very quick. It's late here, so my attention span is dwindling a little bit. This in a nutshell, what is it?
In a nutshell, a marketplace matching emerging professionals to online education and technology.
Online education technology, right? Okay. And emerging professionals, are these professionals who are emerging in their career or in emerging tech sectors?
So yes to both of those. However, our beachhead is definitely going to be recent grads with a non-technical degree who now need to enhance their skills and awareness in something tech related. But then the reason I said yes to both is we are pretty confident we're going to see a lot of early stage career changers, especially coming out of this pandemic. We have so many people changing their career to something more tech oriented after they saw how stable it was. They saw how much money people were making throughout the pandemic. Let's be serious. And so we're seeing a mass change of career changes. And so why we're not going to see them go back to 2 or 4 year schools. We're going to see a lot of more attention drawn towards the e-learning, which I think we can all agree the value of e-learning, and I'll even say 2-year degrees is increasing, while the value of a 4-year degree is kind of plateauing.
So, you Ray, you go.
I was just going to ask for a market positioning question. Like, how is this position relative to Udemy and Pluralsight and LinkedIn's Lynda?
Yep. So good, really good question. So beauty of it with our model is these platforms, like you just mentioned, I'll use Udacity or Udemy for an example, offer affiliate commission, affiliate partnerships. And so by us taking first off, more of a catalog approach rather than a content hosting approach, we can actually earn affiliate commission through driving conversion for their courses. Now, the ultimate goal is to allow the organizations to host their content on our platform, which will then, mold us into more of a competitor rather than Udemy or Udacity being a customer. But certainly, at least to get it started, we'll be able to actually earn affiliate commission from platforms like that, as long as we do drive the conversion.
Why would a customer talk to you though versus just going to Pluralsight or Udemy or Udacity? I mean, they've already got significant marketing. It's not like they're not findable or found. So I'm trying like where in the market space you're
no, definitely. I think regardless of the feedback we've gotten, that's definitely going to be a challenge, because even by not being a non-technical person, those platforms certainly have done a good job. Coursera, Udemy have done a good job of making themselves present. However, in some feedback that we've gotten over the past few weeks, which in that feedback helped us realize we should focus on non-technical people, because technical people already know where to go. They know the exact course and where to exactly go. However, in that feedback, non-technical individuals, recent grads, some things that we've seen are all they rely on is a quick Google search, which all they'll be displayed is whoever's posting an ad and whatever Google's algorithm is willing to display for them that day. And so these non-technical recent grads have a hard time identifying what is the right education for me. Is it a course? Is it certification? Do I just need a boot camp? Who do I connect with? And what or not even what, but is this a course provider that I'm about to enroll in, legitimate? Is it the right one for me? And so that is a lot of feedback we have gotten, which is again why we're focusing on non-technical, those who may not be so keen or aware of exactly where to go. So that's why we're leveraging that matchmaking aspect of it, where we'll still have listings from Udemy, from Coursera, even LinkedIn Learning, but again, leveraging our matchmaking for those individuals.
So like looked at from a high level, this is basically a SEO play focusing on non-technical recent grads and trying to own that corner of Google, so they're coming through you to be getting their content.
It's a good way to put it. I think that's great. I think that's a good way to put it.
I think there's a more fundamental question that I've been asked as a techie from non-techies. How do I get into it? Where do I start? And it's actually a really hard question to answer, because I'm a web developer by trade, but not everybody wants to be a web developer. You could be a back-end Java developer, database, DevOps. There's a whole spectrum of where you can specialize, and simply saying go to Codecademy and start there may not actually be the right answer, because that will start making someone be pigeonholed into a certain way of doing a certain path that they may not like. So if you can help answer that question, because you've got non-technical people who don't know what the right path is, if you can help them answer the right path, then you start them on that journey. You can provide that journey. You can curate the right path for them. I think that would be quite interesting. And I've been in a position where I've had to recommend like Udemy courses for other people, and I haven't been through them because I'm not going through that journey. I don't know whether it's good. I don't know if it's going to give the right output. Having someone curate that and sort of vet them in a way would be kind of cool. So these are the recommended paths from all these other sources. Yes, in time you'll be bringing in first-party content, but you need the supply to get people to produce the content.
Previous people who have been in the position, right? Like, I think that's usually what you get the best recommendation for. If Martin was just at his beginning of the career and using Udemy to learn, JavaScript, Python, whatever it is, that's a good recommendation, because he's going to tell you that instructor is shit, this one's good. So build that into the platform right from the beginning, as every single user you put through it is also going to be, I don't want to say mentor, but kind of like a evangelist for you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
There's a website. This guy's put together this web page. I think it's like, it can't be like roadmap.sh or something. If that's something else, don't blame me. And they've mapped out all the different things that you can learn if you want to be a DevOps engineer, a front-end engineer, and a back-end. And it's the roadmap. And it's quite cool. What it obviously doesn't do is tell you where the good content is to get it. So you're not, because you don't want to waste time. When you're changing career, you're under the pressure. You're not in a good position. You want to go rapidly. You're scared because you're entering something that is unfamiliar. You don't know whether it's going to pay off. So having that reassurance, that guidance, what even came to mind is what Udemy doesn't get is for you to sort of really connect in with other people who are taking the course at the same time, much like we're doing here. So you may have an opportunity to cohort people through that journey and get that peer review feedback. So if you do get stuck, you get unstuck quickly. And certainly being able to listen to people who are slightly further along in that journey to help the next person coming in. I think that could be quite interesting.
Awesome. Excellent. I appreciate the feedback, everyone. And just I guess build off that. I definitely think, the mapping, the career mapping of it is going to be huge, helping them really identify not just, okay, what do you need now, but the next steps. And maybe, and one thing I don't know if I mentioned in the Loom video is, so let me give a precursor to this. We actually previously were focusing on employment opportunities the past couple of years. So this new platform is actually a recent pivot. Still are going to have a presence of job opportunities. So blending that into the career mapping, where it's the e-learning, it's the online education, also then helping them target, okay, this is what you need to get done or need to learn, so on and so forth, in order to land these types of careers and kind of map the whole way. So I think you're spot on.
Yeah, which is that I have to agree with Martin as well on this reviewing, that it's super important to see what people got out of it. I have a friend in Vienna, Barbara, who founded Women Code. And she basically helped a lot of women to start coding from scratch.
Did you say WinCode?
Did
you say WinCode?
Women and Code.
Okay.
Yeah. No, she got women into tech. And one of the things that just worked really well is actually this, at the time, word to mouth and Facebook, and people just seeing, okay, what did previous cohorts get out of it, and then it attracted much more people who wanted to do exactly this experience. So I definitely see the value in just seeing what other people got out of it, because it's super hard to judge when you go on Udemy and it's just like, learn AI. Whoa, what does it mean? Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you.
Fantastic. So it seems like we got at the time limit for Elliot. So bye, Elliot. But again, I apologize for running over this time. We will stay more on track next time. But the conversation was fantastic. I heard a strong suggestion of a partnership there between Endeavor and CoStarting potentially in the future. We should talk about that, Connor. But joking aside, this has been absolutely great. I think, not to step on anyone's toes from the previous cohorts, but this format with the first kickoff, I love it because the conversation, the engagement was outstanding. So thank you so much.
We're not on YouTube Live anymore. You can say it.
We are actually still, yeah. All right, Elliot, we didn't lose you. Excellent. I was just saying maybe we got to the time limit of your internet connection or something like that. But yeah, I think closing words. This is, again, I say thank you. This is all from me. If you guys want to share anything at the end, then I'm looking forward to a successful couple of weeks with you guys.
Likewise, Sven. It's
Look forward to it.
be part of this opportunity.
Yeah, this was a great way to kick it off. I'm excited.
Same here. Okay, good. So you guys are all in Slack. Let's talk to each other. You know your requirements for the cohort, so get into it.
Sounds like a plan.
I'll see you next week.
Get to work.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye.